here we go. Alright, pick it where we left off in the last video. Yeah, I was just starting to talk about episode 47. Here, let's discuss the rest. So, after Philip makes this proposal, apparently, this is the first and last time that Philip makes a request for a case. Though there's a reason for that. A reason that fell completely out of left field. Just like in the last two-parter. Yes, I kind of felt as though... I'll get more to that later. Let's off on that. So, basically, they want to go rescue Wanaka, Philip's sister. So, they go... After, of course, they run to Sayako, which she had no idea her sister was even alive. So, basically gives her a hint. They run into... Of course, this is where, in this episode... By the way, third to last episode of Double, and this is where Shotaro meets June, a representative from Foundation X. At first time he's ever heard about them. Yes. And according to Sonoko, they are the museum sponsors. Yep. Their sponsor. Which, okay. I appreciate, though, the fact that for the Foundation X, at least they made their debut like 10 episodes prior to this, which, smart on them to do this, but they do it in the last, like, quarter of the show. I kind of wish they would have more build for it. I'll get more on that later. So, then, of course, she's taken away after, well, then he proceeds to bring out a memory stick, Utopia, and she's like, that's a gold memory stick. That's always our family. And he's like, sponsor benefits. And then he transforms into Utopia, Depot, and then of course Shotaro won't transform, but then Philip reveals a bombshell. If the next time he transforms into Double, he will disappear. He will actually die. Basically turn to Data. So, he wants to save it for when he rescues his sister. So, then you have Ryu just battling him and gets injured. Though, of course, basically, they proceed to get away. And Shotaro is not happy with this at all. He's taken to the hospital, and later on, he's actually recuperating at the detective office. So, yeah, and then they find the facility where Wanaka is. I love this sequence. Now, Anako goes with him. So, you have Anako, Shotaro, Philip, and Ryu. And of these four people, only Shotaro and Ryu do the martial arts fighting, which I thought was really cool. Because Philip himself is not much of a fighter when he's not Double. Because more of the brains behind the operation, he basically does find some moves. But most of it is all Shotaro doing hand-to-hand combat. And Ryu and Anko, of course, just follows along. Because reasons. So... yeah, them fighting basically like security guards for Foundation X. We have the Grunt Museum. This project is also revealed that apparently Soneko's taking over the head of the museum. This she wasn't part of it anymore. And we also see this mysterious woman. Don't know who this woman is. And she carries a stopwatch with her. Where at a certain point, after explaining the whole thing, like, and then, of course, runs out of time, and then apparently he goes on to our next appointment. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I've never heard of anybody doing this for a show where they have appointments and they have a stopwatch. I mean, interesting. I never thought anybody could do that. So, then, of course, they finally find her. Sonoko basically, well, she's not there per se. And then, of course, they tried to transform. Shotaro hesitates. Though, lucky enough, Ryu, I think this is where he gets injured at this point. I think this is where he gets injured. He gets injured, not injured the first time, second this time here. So, Wanaka is taken by Sonoko, which she gets new memory stick, Taboo. She gets a brand new one. First time she's assumed the Taboo form since, like, episode, 36. That was, I think it was, 36, I think it was. That was, the last officially she actually assumed that form, because she's been basically a different form. And that that memory stick that was used by her ex-husband has now been officially destroyed. Also, she does not have a drive anymore, so when he transforms, she proceeds to shoot herself right basically in the collarbone. So, yeah, and then of course they find where she is. Well, second time they find where she is after Utopia took time to basically take all the supporting characters, Weatherman, Santa, Queen, Elizabeth, these are 2 teenage girls, and Aniko, remove their faces. So then they go straight to where he and of course Shotaro is not happy with this, so then he picks up his former boss's hat, which also is technically Ayaka's father's hat with a little cut in it from the origin story, and goes to fight Utopia, and he uses their gadgets to delay him long enough to rescue Wanaka, gets her out of there. Also, Seiko does die at this point. Then, of course, yeah, so then Philip shows up, getting teleported there thanks to the bird, and then they transform one more time, and then they bow to Utopia. Also, it's revealed that he is one of the Never. He's also a Never. Yeah, he's undead. Okay. Interesting. And they reveal this in the penultimate episode, which after they battle him, then he dies. And then Philip basically is like, okay, they transform one more time. Like, once they transform, Philip is gone. So then, of course, Shotaro is the one closest to the thing, and then Philip is gone. And then we show in a flashback. We have like various flashbacks. Then we jump ahead 1 year later. Oh, by the way, at the end of the episode, it's revealed that inside of there was a present, like supposedly a go-away party. The cover story is that Philip is going overseas to school. The actuality, he's going to die. So he leaves Shotaro a present, which inside the present is the hench device from the movie, from the Forever movie, and Philip's book, which there's nothing in it except for one page. It's a blank book. So apparently only he can see what's inside the book. So they will shrine to him. And then, of course, he still has a habit in the next episode of, well, thinking that Philip is there, but no, he's not there. So then we have this kid show up by sheer randomness. Mention, oh yeah, his sister's been kidnapped, and he basically helped rescue her. And then we meet his sister, and it's actually, I kid you not, it is Gokai Pink. About a year before she plays Gokai Pink. Yep. I actually saw her kind of at Ranger Stop last year. She's very pretty. Yeah, she's a very pretty woman. So, then of course, basically, where of course he fights one of them, like, oh, like, they're going to take over the museum. They're basically just pick up all the remaining. Also, too, when Utopia was defeated, it was put by the lady. I don't know who this lady is. It's due by her that all funding for, well, they mentioned, the Nair project, which is from the movie, the funding for that's been cut. The funding museum has been cut. This is they restore museum. And then the game memory sticks funding for that has been cut too. And they mentioned the Foundation X is a underground financial institution. Where they originally came from, they just show up here. We'll get more on that later. And then, of course, he takes a couple of them. He rescues the girl. And then eventually Philip returns. Where apparently it's revealed that Wanaka officially has died. As revealed in the flashbacks to keep having over the course of this episode. Where Wanaka is told that her brother is gone. So then she uses her access to the Gale Library to use her body to resurrect her dead brother. Yes. So, and then of course Philip sees his family off, all four of them. By the way, it's also revealed in 49 that that basically Shroud has died. Yes, Shroud has died in the flashback. So Shroud's gone, Seneco's gone. Basically, it was revealed the father died in episode 46, and now Wanaka's gone. So Philip is a member of the family left. Also, the mansion was destroyed. So then they transform, battle basically one last death spot of this 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 EX gang, and really cool fight sequence. To one last thing, and it's like time to count up your sins, and does a little this, and that's how the thing ends. I gotta admit, this was really good. I enjoyed these episodes. I have heard also apparently some people don't like 48, which because the whole my only problem with these last few episodes, mostly put in the case of 46 to 48. There's problems with Philip that felt very last minute. They just had to throw these in, like in 46, in 45. They go, oh, he actually died, and then he dies in 48. Yeah, he dies in 48, and then he comes back next episode because Juan gave him her body for Data to restore his flesh and blood, kind of. And of course, also, yes, I will be talking about the movies that came after this. Basically, about 5 of them I'm going to talk about. Before I get my final thoughts, let's reveal what I'm reviewing next. So, the next Kamen series I'm going to review is a Reiwa series. And this is actually the first one released. And it won't be next. No, because basically I'm going to do Radio Soldier, then Jump Person, then this. And there's one other series. And this series was released 6 years ago. That being Kamen Rider 01. Yep, that's my next Kamen Rider series right here. I figured, though, why not? It's actually one of the more shorter series, only 45 episodes. I'll discuss that some other point. So, final thoughts on the Kamen Rider Double series, on the main series itself. This series is fantastic. With the exception of the problems I have with 46... The only problems I have... Before I talk about the main overall series, a couple of small problems I have. Revealing Philip was dead and then he dies in 48. That's the only problem. But this series overall was just fantastic. I love the opening they have for the show. I think all the actors... Aiko herself has been annoying, but at least she's useful at some points. I never thought any episode was bad. Not really. I didn't think 48 it was terrible because they actually had a freaking build-up. They built this up, started in 45, and then this happens. But this series was fantastic. Now, of course, yes, the next one is going to be a few episodes shorter, but, by the way, also, my next Heisei Phase 2, because that's going to come soon, when I come back to Phase 2, it'll be Kamen Rider Ghost. When it'll be, find out and see. But the series itself, overall, is just fantastic. And by the way, 49 is the only episode of the whole show where it's a standalone episode, not part of a two-parter. Also, there's something interesting, though. So, the 1 year later stuff that happens in the present day, apparently, from what I read, apparently this happens the same time as the final episode of Kamen Rider O's. Yes, the same time as Kamen Rider O's, which, the finale for that show, oh, that's interesting. Also, they do have a tease in these last few episodes of the medallions from O's, which I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I think they do in a book. They just look through stuff where, actually it was the book. I think it was a tablet. I think it was. It was a file where they have the Never Soldiers from the movie, and then they show briefly. They don't say what it is, but they probably put it there telling people, yeah, next series is Kamen Rider O's. And I think this happened, I think it was in 48, I think it was, they did put this in, which I thought was really cool. Not the final episode, mind you, just in the penultimate episode. Those of you, the one they did this in O's, where they teased stuff for the very next show, Forze, they actually brought in 2 of the supporting characters who actually were going to be in that show, which they are. They bring in, the guy who makes the switches in Forze, and the girl, Yuri, who basically appears the whole show. And for Wizard, which I still watch. It was on my list. Don't worry. And what they did, they kind of teased himself, Wizard, out like they teased one of his rings, probably his main ring when he transforms, which I did see him transform in the second Tension movie, which the second Tension movie was really good, by the way. But all in all, like I said, great show. And now, those of you curious though, did they have it where in the previous series where they tease stuff for the very next show at the end of it? From what I can tell, for Kuga, Agato, and Ryoki, that didn't happen. No. The whole thing of like teasing stuff for the very next show, that was started with, you could say that started with, you could say teasing like Easter egg, debut new character. You could probably say that started with Decade. With All-Rider, like Decade, All-Riders versus Die Shocker. That's where it kind of started with, where we debuted Double. And then we continue this tier where we started a situation for Movie Wars, where this happened with this one, this happened with O's, and this also happened with O's and Forze, where the Movie Wars teased the debut of the secondary writer of the show. In the case of the one for this one, it was debut of Excel. Now, by the way, the very next one I'm going to watch, first one I'm going to watch, Movie Wars 20, which I haven't seen yet, because I decided to wait until this was done to watch that movie. But I have read this is his debut Kamen at birth, and they did the same thing with Movie Wars 2012, where they debuted Kamen Meteor in that one. Yes. So, that's the thing with Movie Wars. It's like, their job is debut the secondary writers. And the theatrical movie, that debuts the next series writer. Which, I've read that Commodore Zex did the same thing with the God movie House of Snacks. Which, that's where he made his own cameo there, so that's quite interesting that they do this. Yes, I know that Kamen Rider is made by the same company who makes Sentai, so it's like they borrow ideas from Sentai, but the whole thing of the early bird cameo thing, in the case of Sentai, they actually do that in, like, they don't do handoff like they do in Sentai. Yeah, they don't do handoffs. No. From what I can tell, there's no handoffs in the show. They do, it's not exactly like a non-canon thing per se. It's more like just showing us something that will tease something in the next show. That's kind of what the purpose are of them. And they always happen toward the end of the show. They didn't happen from the ones I watched for Phase 1, but Phase 2, yeah, this is basically very common. Yep. But yeah, that is pretty much it for particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is Fire Force. Yes, because that has been released. Now, I did read apparently Freeing has been delayed by a week because of snowstorms in Texas. So, at least there's a reason why. A lot of the other time, Crunchyroll just delays stuff for no reason. This time we actually have a reason. So, I'll see you for Fire Force and back to this review series to work on 5 movies. 5 movies. And the first one being Movie Wars 2011. Okay? But next video. Bye.